Epic Lunch and Learn, and here we are. We got Randall Avery, Vincent Bertocchini. How you guys doing?
Good, Dante. How you doing, Randall?
I'm doing good. How you two doing today?
Not too bad. Appreciate you coming back and doing a second show with us. And it looks like we're on show number 47 there, huh, buddy?
Congratulations,
47.
guys. That's a big deal.
47. I can't wait until we get to 67.
And I'm on my seventh show. I made 7 in a row after today.
That is impressive. The Bears were 4 in a row, but they're not going to get to 7 in a row.
Yeah, they are. It's going to be 7 losses from here on out. 6 more to go.
Don't despair on the Bears. Don't despair.
Randall, what, I know we had some joking, I think, with sports, or maybe that was someone else. Michigan State? No?
What college did you go to, Randall?
I went to Georgia State.
Georgia State. He's D2. I know that.
Yeah.
You're not big into sports, or are you?
I'm pretty big into sports. So, of course, I have to default to being a UGA fan since Georgia State's so close to Georgia Tech.
Understood.
So, even though we're not looking good this year, well, defense-wise, we're not looking good. We're still a competitive team.
All right. What about professional sports? Are you into like the Falcons or anything like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a Falcons fan. It is the inconsistency is painful.
You had Kirk Cousins. You had the experience of Kirk Cousins. Speaking of Michigan State, there yesterday, lost to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The experience of Cousins, they paid him and left him.
The thought was we throw out Cousins, he looks amazing, and maybe he's a trade asset. Now I think people are gonna stay away from him like the plague with that contract.
Yeah. My ex-wife looks amazing, but you don't see me paying her no more. No, I'm kidding.
It's a good analogy.
So today we're back again. We had a great conversation 2 weeks ago with Mr. Avery, and we had a little bit of a good debate, of whether to use money and how to use it in a business. Thought we'd bring it back into different questions this time, and maybe we can touch on some things. And we don't really know what my answers are going to be. We don't know what your answers are going to be. So it will be interesting to see just how this flows. So the first question up it said, is renting while investing your cash and other assets actually a better long-term wealth move than buying early? I wanted to start with that question. I'll let you take the floor. You first.
I'll Randall on that one first.
All right. So we've all thought about, okay, should we buy a home? There's a lot of stuff online that says build up equity. Home is the biggest value asset. And that premise is based off this. Most of the time when people retire or pass away, their biggest asset is actually their home. So people default to thinking, well, if that be the case, then home ownership has to be the best investment you can do with your money. And mathematically, unfortunately, that doesn't usually pan out. I believe that investments over time will grow faster than your home. The issue really lies in that folks are not good at saving, but they are really good at paying off their mortgage. So putting their mortgage toward their payments toward their mortgage versus their investment accounts, it's a higher likelihood that folks will be able to pay off that mortgage and, of course, build equity and wealth that way. But as far as mathematically, it is always going to be better to put your money in investments than purchasing a home and using that to build wealth.
Okay. All right. So you think stocks first?
Yes.
All right, Vince, what do you think?
Well, I bought my first home in 2004. No money down, 80-20. For those of you in the mortgage business, or for those of you not, 80% first mortgage, 20% second mortgage. We called those piggyback loans back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I was born in 77. I bought the house in 2004. So a little under 30 years old, right? And it was a need, right? I needed a house. But then again, the market completely crashed, right? And
Sure.
Over the last 10 years, we haven't had any real big market corrections. I kind of have placed my opinion on some of that. I've said as you get later in years, renting is cheaper than owning. So it kind of goes to life lessons makes my opinion different in today's world, and if I give that answer now, and I will. And what I mean by that is the point of investing, the longer you have your investments, the more growth you get. And I think the key point there is the earlier you start, the more returns you get on your lump sum as you get older. So having that base is important, because what happened to me and what happened to a lot, my job was related to housing, and housing collapsed, the market collapsed, and my house values went down, as well as my portfolios, right? So I probably didn't have the right base established to buy the house, and could have invested and saved the rest. And the other key point there is, if you don't have a need to buy a home yet, live your life, right? I was forced into buying a home. I had to take care of 2 people. They weren't my kids, they were adults. And so I had to buy a home. I was forced into that situation, and it caused some consequences over my life, in terms of doing it early and having an event happen that caused an issue and took a while to recover from.
I think of insurance. You know how insurance has the concept of I'll go get term insurance and then invest the difference into mutual funds and grow your portfolio, and that kind of idea. I look at that concept and kind of compare it to like renting, right? Renting to some degree, or it used to be, would make you liquid based on what rent used to be. Rent was always a staple of a cheaper payment per month than a mortgage payment. But now you have rent on average about $2,000 per month on average. That has totally changed the concept of, here, just rent and then build this portfolio. I mean, $2,000 a month that you're just pouring out to somebody, and you're not really increasing any equity. You're not for savings account, nothing like that. I think that changes the mindset of when to buy and when to own your own property. I don't see a place where renting is a benefit long term for anybody right now, with just the expense you have to pay. If rent was still $1,000 or $1,200, and you would have this difference of $800, I would probably encourage more of like, hey. But if you're renting, that means you're not living with mom and dad. So I mean, the question is, if you're just taking it off what the question says, is renting while investing? No, I don't believe renters. Also, too, with renters, it's interesting. Why are you a renter? So there's so much. Everything's like an onion, right? It's got 7 different layers. You have to peel back the onion. You would have to know so much more to just a blanket question. But the difference sometimes between renters and owners is the discipline. It's the habits, the good habits of saving money. So if you're a renter because you haven't saved the money for a down payment, well, then how do I expect you to be taking that money and investing? And then what are you doing? Are you doing Robinhood? Not to say Robinhood is bad. Obviously, that's a huge new thing that people are doing now. But I would question a renter and having the ability to truly save for long-term growth. What's your thoughts on that?
I think so. One thing a lot of people do, they can put 2 side by side, and I think it's unfair. They put rent and they compare a mortgage, but that's not the full story. When you think about a mortgage, as we all know, because we all own homes here, there's more to just owning a mortgage. There's an incremental utility cost. There's sometimes an HOA. There's property taxes. There's a whole bunch of what I call non-reimbursable expenses that it goes to owning a home. And if somebody will really, to be honest with themselves, put those expenses on a list next to the rent, they surprisingly equal out more than you think. And that's comparing not the mortgage. I'm just talking about the non-recoupable expenses of homeownership compared to renting usually wash out. So when people say, hey, I'm saving money, I'm putting stuff aside, they're really not doing that. But I 100% agree to your point. The average person is not disciplined enough to save and invest on a regular basis. So the average person should probably purchase a home. But if we're talking purely on what will get you the fastest way to build wealth, it's definitely investing in the market.
Fair enough. We'll go to question number 2. because I already know what your answer is for question number 3, based on what you just said. Does the American dream still mean home ownership, or has it evolved into ownership of time, choice, and cash flow? Randall, well, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely think it's more leaning towards freedom. And I'll say we have to sometimes look back. Back in the day when you owned a home, you were part of a community. You were a part of a neighborhood. Your kids went to the same school, all those different elements that are important. But nowadays things are shifting. That element still does exist in some neighborhoods, and I really do think that is an important fact to take into account. But because we live so much in a global world, communities are so spread out, the value of having that home is actually diminished over time. So I really believe true freedom is what people aspire to, and free time, nobody has enough free time. So I think free time is more aspirational than the white picket fence in a home.
What do you think, Vince? Does the American dream still mean home ownership, or has it evolved into ownership of time, choice, and cash flow?
Well, I mean, the stats are showing that home ownership is becoming later and later in life, so people are doing things to delay that, which means they're spending money doing other things. So, if I look at that with the average first-time home buyer somewhere around 38 years old, give or take a year, one way or the other, when you're in your mid-20s and early 30s, the point here is to build assets so that they grow, and then you turn around and get into your home buying. So again, the neighborhood isn't an issue, because if you don't have kids, you don't care about really where you live. You look more for convenience of where we're going. I mean, yes, to get to the neighborhoods, right? I still talk to the kids I grew up with in grammar school are still my friends today, right? Because there was neighborhoods, right? We each had to listen to each other's parents as if they were our own parents, or we played wiffle ball on the corner using the sword caps as the bases to run around. You don't see that today anymore. That community environment's gone, right? And that's just what it is. So I'd have to stand to that. Like, we are losing that.
And that's sad, actually.
Yeah.
But I think it's more fear than anything, right? I mean, I think people are facing the fear of sending your kids out to the park, right? I remember times where my mom was like, just get out. What do you want me to do? Just get out of the house.
Just go.
Just go.
Wherever. Go
Right.
play in traffic.
Correct.
And that's
Right?
considered almost
Just don't get hit
abuse
by the car,
now.
but go play in traffic.
Man. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that would be considered child abuse now, like just negligent. But I mean, that's what it was. It was a situation where, especially going back to my childhood, just, I'm rambunctious. I'm a boy. I got a lot of energy. I'm body slamming pillows. I have a brother, but he's 8 years younger, so I couldn't beat him up too much without getting in trouble. So I was, make believe in the pillows where, like, I had these body pillows and I was just slamming them and suplexing off the side of the couch. And I was doing all this crazy stuff. And my mom was like, get out, just burn some steam, whatever you do. And so I'd get my bike and I'd just go, and you, man, if you did that now, woo.
I had a brother who was 17 years older than me, right? So when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, my teachers were like, why are you coming to school so early, right? Because, my brother wanted his girlfriend to come over before she went to work because he had the house for himself for a little while or whatever, right? And hey, man, here's $20, get lost, right? Or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. I got lunch money or whatever. It's 30 degrees outside. Why are you playing basketball at 6:30 in the morning on the playground, right?
Priorities.
Right? Exactly. But in that environment, right, it was okay. Well, he went to school early. No one really cared. But today, that people be like, what is really going on, right? There'd be a lot more questioning to what that would have been like.
Yeah, it's definitely the old American dream was stability. I think the picket fence, the dog, the house. I mean, taking it back to the 1950s, almost. I mean, that was just pure stability. And I think we have just evolved and grown, and people want to have mobility. And mobility means you have, liquidity to be able to be mobile and to move around and kind of have your own choices. So I think we're all in agreement. Time, choice and cash flow are very important right now in today's world, and each person wants it. I was thinking about this question over the weekend. The old concept was, I got to trade 40 years for 20 years. Right? I got to work 40 years, whether it's a pension back in the day or, a 401k, and then I get 20 years of I'm free. And I think, the younger generation is like, that stinks. 40 for 20? And then I'm 60 and I don't have the same energy. I don't have the same spunk. Like, I don't want like that. I'd rather trade 20 for 40.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's where, just as a society, we're looking for the cheat code. We're looking for where's the elevator where I can go up to the penthouse, from day one. I don't want to have to grind it out, because this 40 for 20 setup that we have really, in the States here, I just think it becomes more and more less desirable.
Yeah, and that ratio is going to get a little tighter and tighter, or a little wider and wider, if we can say it that way.
I mean, you think 50? I mean, are you 20 years old and you have to go to 50?
We're getting there, right? I mean, if your actual retirement age is over 67 right now.
Sure.
Right? I mean, so, okay, and average lifespan's 85.
Sure.
And at 85, you're not doing what you would be planning on doing at 65 or 70 at 85, right? And then if you don't have the assets, you ain't doing it anyways, right? I mean, people retire broke, or they go broke during retirement, right?
I mean, that's why you're seeing people still looking for the fountain youth right now. We're doing all these crazy, what was that Netflix show? The guy is like all into trying to preserve and see if he can live, at a high level, at age 90, 95. I mean, people are doing some exotic things right now to challenge that. I mean, that 40 for 20 is really what I thought about this weekend, really just saying, hey, 20-year-old, or let's just say you're 22 years old and then you retired. And no, let's go with your scenario. I mean, because the reality is most 20-year-olds are still trying to find themselves, right? They're going to take in a job or two of just, testing out, do they like it? But maybe they fully commit to a career at age 27.
Yeah.
And they say,
or let's say adulthood starts at 35.
Okay. Adulthood
Right.
starts at 35. I'm going to buy a house at 38, right? That's the average age of a first-time home buyer. So now I'm going to put in these 40 years of work, 35. So
that's 78 on a 30-year mortgage. Just think about that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Today's first-time home buyer is 38 years old. That's 68 on a 30-year mortgage, right?
Right.
The math don't work. Right?
But I think we have to really dive down. I think you mentioned this already, the cultural, pushback on what was in the day. Like you said, you guys used to work for 40 years and then you retire. The younger generation looked at that and said, no, I don't want that. And I think they didn't say, I don't want that because, work sucked or it was hard. I think all work is going to suck and hard at some points. But I think they looked at the lives that those parents lived and what they neglected because of work. And I do think we swung the pendulum to the other side, that we're not working hard enough. I definitely think there's an element to that. But I think it's more of kind of focus on making fulfilling work and being engaged in the life that you're at, meaningful, whatever that means to somebody else. And I think that's what a lot of the younger folks are looking. They're trying to find that meaning versus just the structure of what a good life is supposed to be.
That's so great that you brought that up. There's a show on YouTube, and hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, where it's like 20 people are around in a circle and they go against one person that's in the middle. Yeah. And it was Patrick Bet-David that was in the middle of, and he had these 20 socialists going against capitalism, and they have these debates. Yeah. And it was very interesting to see from the socialist perspective about a fulfilling job. They're like, well, I don't know if I want to work for your company. And he was almost like dumbfounded, where it's like, you wouldn't want a job? I mean, it's a job. You could start making money. I'll pay you X, Y, Z. And to your point, the younger generation was like, well, I have to research your company. I have to find meaning, that I want to make sure that I'm doing meaningful work. And that really struck me, because I really haven't, thought of that. I mean, it was, hey, I got to get a job. And then luckily I found something that I like to do, but I wasn't, hey, I got to do the research to make sure it means the right thing to me. I never thought of that before. So that was interesting. What do you guys think?
I think, you should think of what would be a responsible person. Okay. And what is responsible for your labor? So when you go work for somebody, you should look up who the owner is and what their value system is. And do you want to propagate that value system? I think in the past, folks would just, if I have the right job title and if I get the right paycheck, well, that's good enough. Everything else will work itself out. But
Sure.
we found out that over years, a lot of people have invested their labors in things that actually go against what they truly believe in. And I think that pause is important. Now, is that pause being done correctly or efficiently? Probably not. But I do think that thought has to be put in place. And I don't think that many people are actually thinking of that. I think they feel like they are, but they don't have like a checklist on what they're actually looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Vince, you got anything? Because I mean, it is.
I don't want to lose audience members, right? So to me, it's about hustle, earn your money, and don't worry about anything else, right? Take care of yourself. I mean, I get it all, and all that's great. So I'll just pass on that one.
Yeah, I'm more on that side of the fence on that. I mean, it was eye-opening. I think it's called Jubilee, if I remember correctly. So if you ever have a chance to watch it, I mean, they bring these very unique styles of like competing, sides of arguments and stuff like that. And it does leave, it's a good eye watch. And you're curious because, to your point, Randall, I feel like I have to, what are my morals? What are my standards? Because normally those are left at home. They're not really, at the workplace per se. And so, I guess they need to be carried, and it's something to consider. I do admire someone that, really, hey, I'm passionate about this. I want to make sure I'm going to give my 100% effort on it because I believe in it. It just wasn't the approach. I mean, it was like, I need a job and I'm going to do whatever. And then I'll figure out the things that I like and, maybe try to steer clear from the things I don't, but it never was, morals and ethics first. And so if that's something new, that's very fascinating.
Yep.
Very fascinating.
Randall, you there still, or you frozen?
I am not frozen. I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing good on this. We got our third question, and then we'll open it up to everyone else. Let's see what the third question was. I have, at 20 years old, should your first move be investing for stocks for liquidity or real estate for leverage? So let me type this into the chat so everyone can see it.
At 20, it should be stocks.
Yeah.
Well, you could kick it off. Go ahead. Is that?
You mean you haven't really even experienced life yet? There's no. I'm sorry. It's just the cost of owning a home or taking care of a home, the opportunity of traveling or hanging out with friends and learning what you want to do or where you want to live. Not a choice at 20.
Yeah, let's see if this goes through.
Well, let me rephrase. It's your choice at 20. My recommendation would be to invest.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Definitely invest money. I think, like I said, a home ownership can weigh you down. Like you might not take a job opportunity because that goes against traffic, just because you're stuck at this home. Or if you're renting, you can make that move. And I also think and a lot of things depend, like, when you partner up with somebody, you may want to buy a house together. So you might have to sell that house when it may not be an opportune time. So there's so many moving factors at the age of 20 that I definitely believe investing and learning about the market early on could be significantly more valuable than dealing with mowing the grass, picking up weeds, like stuff like that. I don't think adds that much value to a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Let me circle back there. If you're maximizing your 401k at 20 and you're maximizing your IRAs, and then you want to talk about buying a home, okay. But if you didn't do those, then don't buy a house yet.
Yeah. I got some stats that I want to go over.
You would.
He's ready.
Um, the median homeowner net worth, right now is 396,200. The median renter net worth is 10,400. Okay, so that's based on survey of consumer finances. Federal Reserve gave out in 2022. So 396,200 versus 10,400. And I think over the last 3 years, it really hasn't changed that much a bit. And that kind of goes into that first question as well, right? I mean, it's just the renter, the ideology of a renter most times doesn't have the discipline and the habits necessary to, buy term and invest the difference. Let me rent and then let me take advantage. And that goes even for, and we talked about this, or I did in my monologue. I do know some nurses, some ladies that, got their nursing degree and they're nurse practitioner, and they stayed at home at their parents' house and they just saved and stacked up money. And, and then, hey, I see a townhome I love. How much is a townhome? It's 225,000. Oh, great. I can afford that. And they just paid cash. So you do see people out there that have those capabilities, and they're in their mid 30s. This nurse at the time was about 34 years old. And so, kudos to those people. It's just few and far between, I would say, as a whole. But there are people, hey, if they have some discipline, if mom and dad is really, encouraging them, if they're not paying rent, I would highly encourage that they're stacking that money on a monthly basis. And then hopefully they can just pay cash. If not, obviously we would help them get pre-approved. Another stat I thought was interesting was...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now let's also remember that person stacking cash was probably playing the Robinhood account or their investment account to get them to that $200,000 over the last 7 or 8 years in terms of investments.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece, that large amount of equity that's sitting there, we talk about it all the time. That's money not being used. It's just sitting there. You can't have that much wealth just sitting in your home. Go ahead.
On a tangent, Randall, how do you feel about Robinhood? Because I know that's been a budding stock in the marketplace, up probably 60 some odd % this year. Are you have any fear levels on the Robinhood experience that people are using or choosing to use?
And are you saying comparing Robinhood to the traditional brokerage houses like
Correct.
Schwab, Fidelity?
Correct.
I think for me, for my area of the world, as far as how I help clients, I feel like Robinhood, Acorn are more like learning tools. It's a good way to introduce yourself. But if you want to do I feel like once you reach a certain amount of wealth, you should go ahead and move on to the big players. That's just my bias. But I don't see anything wrong with them. I think they're very functional platforms. I've seen some significant amounts being able to accrue in those accounts. So it's not that it isn't. It's just I like more of the traditional players, traditional platforms, just my personal preference. But I think you can build wealth. There are sometimes if you have a lower account balance, some of those fees concern me. I think there's like $1 a month until you reach a certain amount. So that can kind of erode away. But if you're seeing it as a learning tool, I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Do you fear the level of, there used to be a strategy. I'm sure that you're familiar with buy and hold. Mm-hmm. Would you fear that that's going to go away? Because I mean, Robinhood to some degree, with the, whatever juices that people need to get, all of a sudden they are going to become just day traders. We're just going to call, a world of just day trading.
Yeah, I think we're switching over to a different topic. So this topic we're switching to now is almost the gamification of investing.
There you go.
Going in and out, in and out, in and out. And I think what you're alluding to is that Robinhood does make those processes easier, even more tempting. And there's like a little culture developing around that. Is buy and hold going away? I don't think buy and hold is going away, because the time it takes to go in and out of trade, somebody who's making a reasonable amount of money will not spend that time. They'll think it's like, wait, if I just work an extra hour, I can earn this, or I can do this day trading thing and actually risk losing money. So buy and hold, I feel like will always be around. Do I feel like there'll be increased gamification and gambling? Yes, just because people have access to it. It's marketed to folks. And that I do think overall that can cause harm to society. But I don't think buy and hold is going away when we compare the dollars that are being traded back and forth versus those that are sitting back and buying and holding.
The best time in life is right now. The best time that we're living right now. It just, with all the tools and all the things that are in the marketplace right now, it's just amazing. And I so wish I was 20 years old again. I so wish I would have had Robinhood available to me and apps like that. And so I agree with you guys both. I mean, I think everything is in sequence. And I think you kind of alluded that to some degree. There's no right or wrong answers in any of the questions that were given today. It's really just making people think and what's best to do. And I just think, wholeheartedly, when you're younger, liquidity is important. Building up is important for down payment purposes as well. So if you get familiar with like a Robinhood or an Acorn, if you get familiar with investing, it's funny. I was having a conversation with my Cintas guy that comes every other Thursday. And we ended up talking about stocks, and and he was like, his father taught him, and so he started about 18 years old, and he's like, yeah, I got like 6 more years left, and I'm going to be retired. And all of a sudden, just based on the conversation, I was like, oh my God, this is a millionaire next door. Here's the guy. This guy has been, virtually investing for over, 40, 50 some odd years. And this guy is a millionaire, just waiting out his time so he can retire. And I was like, man, this guy's almost done. And it was just, so sometimes there's millionaires walking right by you every day. You wouldn't even think it, because they have the habits when no one sees it. It's not necessarily flashy. I'm sure he doesn't have a Facebook page. He's not posting on Instagram. He's working a 9 to 5, but he's allocating his money systematically. And he's almost to where he wants to be to call it a day. So I just think, when you're younger, invest in the stocks. I'm big for that. Liquidity is important, but I think the power of leveraging that, real estate can do once you have money, so you can put down the 20% down. I helped a lady buy a property, and she wrote an email on Saturday saying, hey, I'm looking to buy again, why does a client want to shop me? I don't know. But anyway, she's shopping me.
Good plug there.
Yeah. So she's shopping me. It's like, hey, Dante, I'm interested in this property. I already got one quote. I just want to see what you can do. And I was like, well, all right. How do you want me to beat them? Do you want me to beat them with a lower rate, or do you want me to beat them with a less of a down payment? Which one do you want? And so she's like, oh, yeah, if you give me a lower rate, I prefer that. So it was funny because she's already got the 25% down. That's not a big concern of her. I got the money. I just want to try to get the lowest payment possible. So I'll have that conversation later today. But it's one of those things where I think the younger you are, liquidity first, and then real estate, followed by real estate. I think real estate is huge for you to build and grow. So you're maybe just not, as you get older, maybe not as reliant to the market. Obviously, as we get older in our 60s, they're already talking about taking money out, putting in annuities and fixed incomes, and reducing your stocks, and switching out your portfolios and stuff like that. So I think maybe that's when real estate would come in more play, where you have more consistent, hey, this is the money that's coming in on my residual income coming in, because that's important. So I think it's more sequence and strategy than it is one or the other.
We haven't had a correction. That's part of the problem.
That is true. They said another stat. Thanks, Vince. S&P 500 average annual return over the last 20 years, from 2004 to 2024, is about 9.5%. And that's in a 20-year time frame. Same 20-year time frame, U.S. home appreciation is actually 4.7%. So I mean, obviously, if you are looking to grow for a 20, 30, 40-year time frame, stocks would probably be, definitely have outperformed, just real estate overall. But one thing, I would say, just depending on your age and your certain scenario, if you're just looking for consistency, right? There's some investors out there that like CDs. To me, a house is like a CD. It's safer than, the stock market. It's going to be steady Eddie and can still get you there. But if you're looking for speed, it might be stocks, but anything has to put time into it, 20, 30, 40 years.
Now, for me personally, when I talk to folks, I say purchasing a home is not an investment. It's a lifestyle choice. So for somebody who doesn't want to move all the time, somebody who wants to raise a family in a nice, stable environment, somebody who wants to be in a specific neighborhood, though, that's when you start thinking about home ownership. It's a lifestyle choice. It's a preference. It's a preference between buying a Toyota versus a Lexus. So once you're ready for the Lexus, whatever that does for you, then you go ahead and buy that. But I think it's hard to say a primary home is a good investment number wise.
Yeah, it's not. Or go ahead, Vince.
I'm going to throw a little bit of pushback on that. Single income household, you need a house, you have a child, you want to have that sense of home ownership to create your family environment. So that house may be the investment as well as the need, right? And everything is in that one safe, what we hope for is consistent, non-depreciating asset. And
how do you define investment? Because I think that's where we're going. So my definition of investment is income producing, and it pays you more than it costs you. Usually a home is not income producing. And if you add up the repairs, the maintenance, the renovations, the incremental utilities, all the things we discussed, you don't usually come out ahead mathematically.
Over time, that's correct. But the difference is to that one individual, that 20-year single mother in the home may then have the first time that she has that lump sum $200,000 payday when she goes to sell it. Regardless that she might have spent more over time, she's getting it back, right? And then it creates that basis of what to do with it. And just kind of going back, one of our very first shows, I said, nothing matters until you have $100,000 worth of liquid assets. Regardless of what you choose to do, until you get to that point, you don't have enough to actually leverage those investments to actually see returns. Just kind of one of my opinion.
100%. I agree. $100,000 is a magic number. I like $300K, but $100,000 definitely gets you where the appreciation is meaningful.
Correct, because it gets to that point where, okay, I could throw $50,000 in the Apple and sit there and let it wait for 4 or 5 years and still have $50,000 to take $25,000 and go buy a house, keep $25,000 for reserves, and start something. Again, it was one of the conversations in our first show. I make $10,000. What do I do with it? Right? It just doesn't work. If I could double 100 once every 4 or 5 years, now I'm getting somewhere, because 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. Taking Dante's number of the 9%, that's essentially doubling your money every 6 years.
Spot on. Yep.
This is, and to me, Vince, I would just say that most financial gurus and financial guys just out there in general, I don't think a house is deemed an investment until we are receiving money from it. But that's why we encourage them to take it out of the walls. Right. I mean, because this appreciation, this 4.5% appreciation does nothing for you if you're not going to extract it. If you're not going, so it's either a sell of the property or it's a refinance to cash out the property so you can actually do it. So, so for, some of the people that I've worked with recently, they've taken out 150,000, 125,000, 75,000, and so on and so on. These are folks that are saying they hear my story, they hear what I'm saying to them, it resonates, and they're like, yeah, we need to take some of this money out and do something with it, because that's the thing that I've kind of learned. Like, if you're going to take out $75,000 and just pay off debt per se, that's not good enough, because because you might get your life and you get yourself right back into the same amount of trouble.
Well, I mean, it's good enough as long as you don't get back into that debt, right?
Correct.
I mean, we've preached this over and over, and I preach it, whichever. That's not the word I normally would use, right? But we can't say it enough. America has too much equity in their house.
Correct.
You have to take this money out and do things with it. Otherwise, it's useless.
Correct.
It's paper. Just like you don't want to trade a stock that you have a loss on because it's only a paper loss until you sell it. It's the same principle with housing. And I can't say it enough. There's a hedge. You're holding 20% equity in your home. The average home loan is $400,000. That means $80,000 is not working for you today. Forget about the rate. Forget about everything else. You have to put money to work in order to make that money.
Correct. So, and that's where, guys like Randall Avery and others can help them, hey, I have $80,000. What do I do with it? Hey, I have $300,000. What do I do with it? And starting these, brokerage accounts and starting these accounts that can see that money and allow that money to work for you. All right. So a little bit longer on the 30-minute segment, but 3 questions. These are all great questions. And, I'm surprised we actually agreed on more than I thought. So this is good.
Well, we didn't get into we stayed in the younger generation. We didn't get what we're supposed to do when we get to the older generation.
This is true.
I think we have different opinions a little bit on that one.
Probably. Let's do the housekeeping notes real quick. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, call Epic today. That's 708-905-5300. That's 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. Now, if you need a blueprint like we were discussing, if you need a play-by-play or step-by-step playbook for turning your mortgage into a wealth-building machine, the Ultimate Mortgage Guide right there behind me is available on Amazon. Check it out. It is worth the read. And after the show today, please go to our YouTube channel, Epic Spotlight. First and foremost, appreciate everyone that's been liking and supporting the channel. I really appreciate you. Continue to do that. Make sure you put a like on this video today. Make sure you share it with others and put some comments down, for other shows that you want to hear. So appreciate that. But we have our latest podcast is with Rodney Allen. Rodney Allen is the founder of the Chicago Intellectuals podcast. It's a platform where intellectual meets culture, conversation meets authenticity, and success stories rise from the grind. More than just a podcast, Chicago Intellectuals shines a light on those who have defied the odds, navigated adversity, mastered perseverance, and made their mark in industries ranging from politics to the arts, education to activism, and of course, the hip hop culture. So had a great conversation with Rodney. He's also a client as well. So it was great to talk to him and just get connected to him. And then we have some preferred listings. I'm not going to go through all of them today just because we're short on time and I want to get to these questions, but I will go ahead and read a couple new ones that we have. 8442 East Kingston Avenue. It's a single family, 4-bed, 2-bath, going for $280. Contact Evelyn Wood, 773-718-9742. We have 6200 South Marsh Lane in Matson. It's a single family, 4-bed, 2.5-bath, going for $270. Contact L'Oreal Flowers, 312-774-4230. L'Oreal also has 6832 South Bishop Street. It's a 2-flat in Inglewood. It's a 6-bed, 3-bath place going for $240. So great opportunity for an investment there. Contact L'Oreal 312-774-4230. And we have a new one, 4634 Deepwood Court in Bowie, Maryland. Contact Phil Dyson 443-280-1842. All these are available on DanteRoyster.com. So you can go to my website, DanteRoyster.com, check out the featured properties, and hopefully we can get you pre-approved for one of them. All right, let's get
Amy,
to
I want to stop you before you hit the questions. Sorry,
yes,
I know
sir.
we're running short on time. Hey, Randall, why don't you throw your contact information in there, and then we'll get rolling on those questions if you can hear us here.
I appreciate that. So my name is Randall Avery, certified financial planner, chartered financial analyst. I work in the Atlanta metro area. So if you're looking to receive financial planning, a lot of topics we're touching on, whether I should pull money out of a mortgage, whether I should invest the money back into the mortgage. These are very personalized topics. So if you want more information from a certified financial planner, please reach out to me. You can find me on my website at www.deasilwm.com. That's deasilwm.com. And you can find me on all social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So please reach out to me for a free consultation. So I'm an open, honest book, as you can tell by this episode.
And your book?
Yeah, my book is Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. It's on Amazon right now. So if you feel like, why am I not getting ahead? Why I'm not able to build up this savings amount to put a down payment on a home? Please check out my book, Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. It's on Amazon. It spells out everything you need to know to get your financial situation to the next level, especially if you feel like there's something holding you back.
Dante, one quick question. I know we got how many viewers here? I know we're giving the blueprints and books. So how many people we got watching right now?
Right now we have 470 people listening to us right now. So really appreciate that.
Let's get to those questions.
All right. Do you think homeownership is still a smart long-term play in today's market? Who wants to tackle that?
Yes. It's part of your portfolio, right? It's a piece of the puzzle. It needs to be there.
I personally really enjoy when I work with a client who is about to pay off their mortgage or has their mortgage paid off. It makes planning easier. You don't have to deal with the inflation of rent. You don't have to worry about constantly moving and neighbors coming in and out, even though you do have neighbors in a home. But I definitely think home ownership is a good long-term play, but make sure this is a lifestyle choice. Understand all the compromises and things that you're giving away because you're buying a home ownership. But if you understand that and agree with those things, I think it could be a beautiful thing for yourself.
You know, about a month ago, I had a meeting with my staff. And what I was telling my ops team was that, you know, we're no longer in the mortgage business. We're in the lifestyle business. And because it is about a lifestyle, you know, whether you live in Atlanta, Georgia, or you live in Douglasville, Georgia, that's a big difference. You know, that's a difference of life. You know, whether you live in Chicago, Illinois, or if you live in Plainfield, Illinois, that's a difference. And so really, you know, the mortgage is a tool. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we just offer the tools, but it does change your life. You know, whether you live in the Colorado Rockies, you know, or you live in Orlando, Florida, you know, these are all different, you know, just lifestyles of choice that you will have to, you know, whether you're looking at mountains every day or you're looking at the ocean or you're looking at flat lands in the Midwest, you know, so it's one of those things where I can't agree with you more. It's all about a lifestyle. And for some, to keep it simple, you know, some people that, hey, this is where I want to live. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to raise my family. That is all great stuff. And, you know, obviously there is a mechanism to the lifestyle. Like if you need that extra, you know, investment tool, you know, then you can use it as a tool to help you. But it's not necessarily necessary depending on other lifestyle choices that you do, you know, where you work, how much money you make. You know, like I said, I have friends and buddies, you know, hey, I have a house. I have, you know, I make $150,000, $200,000 a year. You know, I'm saving, you know, in my 401k, I got stocks, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, some of these guys have, you know, $500,000 to $600,000. So they don't really need to extract money out of their house per se to, you know, catch up or do anything, you know, extra. They just need to stay the course. And as long as they stay the course, you know, some of the mechanisms that we're even speaking about today are irrelevant to them. So, you know, I love the lifestyle thing because for some, hey, just do what you're doing and choose the house that's going to help you with your where you want to live. So I love that.
Yeah, I got one thing to say on that. When you're at that 500,000, it's the point of how do I get this to 2 or 3x my money and then be done, right? Once you're at that number, then it's that question. Maybe Randall want to touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think people call it the FU money. It used to be $1 million. It's probably more like 2.5 to 4 now, given how, like I said, the lifestyle you want to live. But it's to the point where I no longer have to work and I can be comfortable and love on the people the way I want to love on and do the things that I want to do. So once you get to a certain wealth level, that is the aspiration. That's, I think, what we were going to touch on, the FIRE movement. Really getting out of the workforce, being independent. It doesn't mean you don't work. It's just that you were only doing the things that you really want to do, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It is. The thing is, I think everything comes back down to mindset. And I think the issue is for some of those folks, even my buddies included, and I probably need to have some conversation, but I think they're just so sold into the 40-20. I'm going to put the 40 years in and then get my 20 years, and that's the status quo. And so I love the youth that challenges that, right? FIRE really just kind of came in, this whole acronym of financially independent retirement early, that really came in like 2010, 2012, somewhere around there. So, I mean, it hasn't been around, 20, 40, 100 years. It is people that are saying this 40-20 split is not working for me. We got to figure out a way to buck this system. We got to figure out a way, that's where crypto came about. It's all these people that are saying, hey, this system right here is not suited for me. It's not what I want to do. And I got to figure out how I can buck this so I can better myself. So I see the push that people are trying to figure out a way. But you got to be careful with that, because those urges will lead you to bad mistakes and, early, quick decisions, and I definitely have been a part of that, where it's like, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
But, you're trying to make those moves because you're trying to move up that scale as quickly as you can. So these are definitely lessons you can learn. So, be careful, but, that is what's going on right now. That's what I'm really seeing.
I want to touch on one thing on that, because I wanted to say this earlier, and we're back to the same point. I think some of this has to do with this age bracket that we're talking about. They saw their parents suffer to what happened in 08, 09. And they saw the depreciation in houses and the loss of jobs and what was really something. And now they're in their mid-20s and 30s, and they're saying, I'm not going to let that happen to me. And I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You could 100%. You could say that. I mean, what would that be if you were born in 2000? Right now, you're 25 years old, so you were 8, and you remember how tough it was. Mom and dad might have lost their house. Mom and dad might have had to, file bankruptcy. I mean, you heard those conversations probably around the kitchen table. So yeah, if you were anywhere 1995 born, I mean, you're 30 years old. You 100% remember those things during high school. Or maybe you were the one that had to leave private school and go to public school because, they couldn't afford it anymore. So yeah, definitely, this age bracket, we're touching on Gen Zers and a little bit of millennials. They definitely were impacted and saw the fear or the anger or the resentment or whatever, to, their parents, and just what they had to go through. But I just think people are tired. I mean, because of, the one tool that the government put in, inflation, and really inflation, started right around the 1970s when we left the gold as our, currency, and really just said, no, it's all on this IOU stuff. I mean, inflation has really, we're seeing the, what it's doing. I mean, I think we talked about it in another episode, like $100,000. I think it was with Randall, right? 100,000 in 2007 is basically equivalent to 150 now.
Yeah,
I mean,
but we're gonna get some adjustments, right? We're gonna get some rate cuts this week and different other things on that. So
quarter points coming.
Inflation's getting adjusted, but again, money grew too fast. There's nothing else you can say about it. It's just part of what it is, right? Like you said in another episode, and throw this back to Randall. Things aren't coming down in price. The eggs are still going to be as expensive as they are. They may come down a little bit, but we're not going back to what it was, or whatever it was, milk, or whatever we used it as the other example in one of the shows, right? Things are more expensive. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Randall?
Yeah, I want to touch on what you brought on, Dante. Like, these kids are traumatized. You think about going from 1999 to 2000, that little stock market shakeup. You think about the .com boom. You think about the financial recession. You think about COVID. These kids are messed up. Okay, they've gone through a whole bunch, and they're just shaken up. And I also agree. Talking about Vincent, inflation. Inflation is an issue. Salaries aren't keeping up. We're not. I think last time when I looked at a starting financial analyst, which I was when I was younger, salary has barely even moved. So these kids are coming out of college with twice as much student loan debt, twice as much rental rates, and you expect to pay them the same amount of money. That's just not a recipe for people being happy, content, wanting to start families, which is a big deal. And it's a tough world we're letting our kids into. And especially now with AI, they're not hiring entry level. There are people looking to cut jobs left and right. So I have a lot of friends in that age bracket. It is a tough time.
I think it might have been another episode, but anyway, I was going to throw out Andrew Yang and UBI. It was funny when not UBI. I forgot what it is.
Universal Basic Income.
Yes, it was UBI. There you go. I was right. And it was such a no way. 5 years ago when he came out and he tried to run for president, but now. I mean, it's just not practical. What we're doing is sustainable to me, overall. Well, and let's not even forget sports entertainment. Millions of we're paying $400 million, Ohtani and baseball guys, and we're paying $100 million, basketball guys. And it's like, could that money be used somewhere else, to keep us afloat and keep everyone? I mean, if everything's hovering here, it is it's a train that it has no guardrails, and potentially if you don't jump on and figure out a way how to get yourself, I mean, I don't know I'm not a hyperbole guy, but it just seems like it's a runaway train right now, and you have to figure out a way to get latched onto it, or you're going to miss out on the boat and you might be hurt.
Or jump off and make the right decisions and put things in order and then get back on the train later if you're in the right age bracket.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with liquidating, starting over, and then say, hey, I'll wait until I can see a correction.
Exactly. All right, next one here is what's the biggest mistake people make when chasing wealth too early? Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, that is a really good question. So what is the big, so what I see is a word called compromise. Similar to what we talked about, the young people looking at their parents, how they compromise their morals to go work for XYZ. What I see a lot, if you completely go gung-ho on chasing wealth, you actually compromise on what you truly value. So there's a lot of money that can be made in tech, but I think we all know a lot of engineers are the most miserable people ever. There's a lot of money in being an attorney. There's a lot of miserable attorneys. We talked about nurses. Nurses, that's a hard job. And that has a lot of I think addiction and other aspects of not enjoying yourself. So the danger of chasing money too early is that you compromise what you truly believe, what you truly want. And not only does it have short-term, meaning what you're doing is killing yourself, but long-term, when you look back, I've seen a series of depression, and what you do financially is you try to shovel money into things to make up for that. Whether that's, I have to go on vacation every quarter to justify this hard job. I have to give money to my kids because I wasn't there when they're young. All these compromises really does not allow you to actually enjoy the wealth that you created. So it's kind of like chasing your tail, which is my opinion.
Back to that mindset thing.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next one. How can young adults balance freedom with financial responsibility today?
I believe that the reason why we feel so constrained on time, this is adults, this is not just kids, but kids get it worse because of their exposure, is because we spend too much time watching TV, looking at screens. Think about back in the day when there was really only 2 TV shows you watched. You went out and then you got to daydream, you got to be peace of mind. So I think the first thing is time allocation. And it is so hard. These systems, the social media, they force you to stare at that screen so long that when you're done with it, you don't feel relaxed. Your anxiety actually is probably raised. And now you're just running. You feel like I never got time to relax. So first thing is, how do I allocate my time? The second thing, it goes back to value system. You do have to compromise. You may live in a nice house, but you may not be able to furnish it all the way, right? There are some compromises that you have to make. You can't have it all at once. I think it was the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Gaynor Greensboro, RBG. And she said, when talking to women specifically, women can have it all that they want, but they can't have it all at once. But that applies to everybody. Figure out what you can do today, what you value today, and just kind of nip on it a little bit at a little time. Your life does not have to look like somebody's life on TV that is not real, and it doesn't have to look like your neighbor's life who they project that they have everything.
Well said. Got another one here. Kevin, could the next generation skip home ownership altogether and still thrive? I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, there's always there's no one rule, there's no one set that meets it all. So I mean, there is that opportunity. I mean, you could you could live with mom and dad. I knew a young lady, she's married now, but she stayed with her parents and she did that thing. Like she stayed with her parents for like 18 years, after college, and until virtually she got married. So I mean, to some degree, what if she never got married? She could, and they actually just did an addition to the house, and just finished out it was a bungalow. So bungalows are popular in the Chicagoland area, but basically just finished up, the attic, let's just say, and they finished up an attic portion where she lived up there, parents lived down there, and that's what they did, and it was not a big ordeal, and they lived their lives. So, with these expensive prices that, you may see that become unaffordable, you may start to see more family-based homes, which is not uncommon, like in Europe, right? Where you get more of these, farm-like homes or these like compounds per se, and the whole family just lives inside, and lives there, and just, if you have the space to do it, it might be something to consider, and that everyone pitches in. Next one right here.
We're doing overtime today, huh?
I know, a little bit. We got two more. How much does mindset matter when building wealth versus strategy?
So for me, and I've been juggling around this probably the past 6 months. I sometimes believe that building wealth is actually based on your value system. We have all seen the little old lady who saved $400,000 just using CDs. So not even compound interest. So I really think building wealth mindset, but I would project even more, is what do you actually value? What is your internal value system? Do you have a value system of saving? Do you have a value system of delayed gratification? Do you have a value system of having security for yourself? I think that is significantly more valuable than having a strategy. Now, that lady, if she would have invested, could have had like $1.2 million versus that $400,000. Yes. But I think we can all agree on this phone. If somebody has $400,000, they are definitely wealthier than a significant portion of the American population.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think real estate will always be part of wealth equation?
Hold on, Randall. The answer is yes. This is a mortgage show. Now go ahead, Randall.
I think, and this is actually harpens to Vincent, and I think both of you guys mentioned it. There is a certain mentality of ownership and control that people with wealth generally have. Okay, so I believe at a certain wealth level, at a certain level of cool down in your hustle, for lack of a better word, you are going to want to purchase a home. You are want to provide that stability for your family. And so I think it's kind of it's hard to separate somebody building and amassing a certain amount of wealth, slowing down, and not wanting to buy a piece of home where their rate won't go up. Our rent won't go up and down based off the whim of a landlord. So I do think those who aspire to have wealth will eventually buy real estate. I don't think that'll ever stop.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Keeps us in business. Thanks, Randall.
I'm on your side.
Last one. Will increased immigration enforcement affect Miami's workforce?
Wow, that's not me.
Woo! I don't think that's us either, Vince.
No.
No. We won't touch that one. Appreciate you, Amy. But yeah, we won't touch that one today. But hey, it was a great hour. Went a little bit over. Hopefully, no one is upset with that. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. I think we learned about sequence and strategies, mindset. Definitely, this one is worth a watch again. So, if you liked it, make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Give us a like on Facebook. I saw LinkedIn was having a little issues today, so we'll try to send some clips along the way so you can see what you missed on LinkedIn. But we will be back tomorrow, better than ever, new guests, new topic. And thanks for everyone that was listening. Have an epic day, Randall. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Randall. Dante, talk to you later. Thanks to the audience. Everyone have a good afternoon.
All right, take care.
See ya.